What's going on, everyone? We are back for another live edition of the Bleed Los podcast, Carne Asada. We have got a lot to celebrate. The Dodgers are your 2025 NL West champs. We got our first look at Roki and Kershaw out of the pen. And how might our rotation be set up for the wild card round? All that and more coming up next. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a live edition of the Carne Asada. We've got Cody, aka Canelo, in the house. We've got Anthony live and direct from Seattle, and producer Roger is behind the scenes. As you know, I am Drea. But before we get into all that, we want to make sure to tell you about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat, and check out DodgersBeat.com. They did it, fellas. NL West champs once again, continuing to ruin baseball. Your reactions?
I wish I had a drink to toast too. I did have one earlier today, but I'm just happy we finally cleared the first hurdle. This is the first hurdle, winning the division. I'm just happy, and I'm just ready for postseason ball now at this point.
Yeah, I can't agree with Anthony more. It's kind of like the monkey's finally off the back. We've kind of knew this was going to happen, but it was also in the back of our minds that there is a possibility they could have lost the division. And once they kind of lost the number 2 seed, I didn't really care whether they won the division or not, just because they still would have to play a 3-game series anyway. But you do get bragging rights now, 12 division crowns in 13 years. You get to host a playoff series at Dodger Stadium for those 3 games. Hopefully it's only 2. But to get it done, and then those last 3 games in Seattle can just be experiment time and just end the season on a high note. Make sure the bats are hot, pitching stays good, figure out the bullpen, and then most importantly, stay healthy and get into that wild card round this upcoming Tuesday. But it's a good day to celebrate. Obviously, I love seeing all these guys' reactions in the clubhouse. So good night overall.
It was a good night. I kind of don't like daytime games. And when I got up this morning, I saw that it was going to be one of those like, oh my gosh, I'll be in the midst of work. But luckily, there's a lot of Dodger fans where I work. And luckily, we got to see the celebration. And I just got to say, I love watching a shirtless Kershaw, his last NL West division title, and it seemed like he was enjoying it like the other guys in the clubhouse, slipping and sliding everywhere. It is their 23rd NL West title in franchise history. So just feels like a ton of relief, but it didn't come without its roller coaster. We had to get through some ups and downs this week with Arizona. So just kind of take me through your thoughts as we kind of navigated through this series this week.
Yeah, like I've said before, I hate playing division opponents just because we know them well. They know us. Kind of in any sport, you can talk about like, yeah, we don't like playing against our division rivals. And I kind of was like on the plane yesterday. I'm like, okay, we're up 1-0. I'm gonna put my phone on airplane mode and like let's see what happens. And I kind of like when I landed, I had like a million text messages like the bullpen did it again. The bullpen did it again. They exploded. They imploded. Yeah. And I'm like, because the only notification I got was actually a positive one. It was from ESPN saying like, oh, Roki Sasaki looks dominant in 1 inning of work. I'm like, okay, great, awesome. And then like I got bombarded by the rest of the messages afterwards. I'm like, oh, this is not cool. But yeah, I'm still nervous about our bullpen, but I think we do have some solutions that I saw, at least highlights of. But yeah, the bullpen still being a very big issue, but I think we have our answers now.
Yeah, I think this series going into it, it was kind of very playoff atmosphere like. The Diamondbacks are a decently good team. They're still in the wild card hunt, although the Dodgers taking 2 or 3 kind of did deflate their chances of making the postseason this year at least. But, credit to them and their organization. They were sellers at the deadline and they ended up pulling within, they'll probably be within 1 to 2 games at the season's end. But that second game and it definitely felt like a playoff game. You had the highs, you had the lows, you had the, Roki Sasaki making his debut out of the bullpen, looking electric. Clayton Kershaw coming in the 9th inning, something that we're more than likely going to see a lot of in the postseason if the team goes on a run again. And they ended up, pulling away with a tight, late inning win in the 11th inning, and they got some clutch hitting, clutch pitching. That first game, it could have went their way, but bullpen does its thing again. And then today, just offense pitching, it was just dominant all over the place. Kind of makes sense why the D-backs decided to just move Zach Gallen's start to the next series, just because Yamamoto and a lot of other starting pitchers in this rotation are just kind of unbeatable right now. And that's a good thing for the Dodgers as they head into October. But I think this series against Arizona and then even the series against Seattle, even though for the Dodgers, it's not much they're playing for, the Mariners are still very much in play for the number 1 seed. So they're going to see some good pitching. Hopefully the team can take some good at bats and take whatever they can from that series. Who, according to Fangraphs, the Seattle Mariners, for the first time probably ever, are World Series favorites, which I didn't think that would be a thing I would say out of my mouth, but things are looking up for that franchise, and this could be a potential World Series preview, West Coast showdown between Seattle and Los Angeles. So it's going to be good. I know, Anthony, you're probably going to have a good time watching you're going, what, Sunday or Saturday?
No, I think it's lining up for tomorrow. There's a lot's been changing the last couple hours. It's either, I know I'm going to one of these games, I just don't have any confirmation yet, but just walking around the town, I see a lot of Mariner gear, a lot of Seattle fans, like they feel it. I think they feel like they have a legitimate chance of being world champions at the end of October here, but they're going to have to run into us eventually.
Yeah, but Seattle, it's definitely going to be a good opponent, and I'm excited for the Dodgers regular season to finally come to a close, because just a couple days, and then we're going to be starting postseason baseball.
My gosh, couple days. So yeah, I'm already seeing some interesting comments in the chat. Definitely want to get into some of the pitching that we saw, because that's been the highlight of the month. From Doomsal, where he mentioned Yamamoto, 201 strikeouts, first one to do it since Bueller. Definitely want to talk about Yamamoto. So if you guys want to interact in the chat or give a super chat, we'll definitely kind of pause what we're talking about and make sure that we get to your questions or your comments. So thank you for all the people who are in the chat right now. But yeah, I just kind of want to, before we get to Yamamoto, I kind of just want to go back a little bit to the Ohtani start. The first time he had his 6 innings pitched, which I think we're all kind of eager to see how he would do. And I don't know if you caught it, but there was that fierce face. I put it on my Instagram story. It was all over social media after he hit that double play. He's walking off the mound, and he just looked like he's ready to go. He looks like October Ohtani, and I am just so excited to see what he's going to bring this round, because I think he was cut a little bit short last year with the injury in the World Series, and a lot of the other guys stepped up during the playoffs. But this year, I think Ohtani might be a big story. But what really got me sad was watching how he had that gem of an outing, and then just to watch our bullpen. I think Cody posted that it just makes you angry at a certain point, like just enough. We need to figure out a radical plan to fix this. But before we get into all of that, what were your just thoughts on this unicorn we have? I know we've said everything that can be said, but is this guy even for real? Just an amazing season for him. And it's not over yet.
Yeah, I think Ohtani. Everything that he did that start, 6 innings. Dave Roberts said that he was going to give him a little bit longer leash. He ended up accomplishing that goal. And Ohtani's ready for the postseason. His bat is healthy. We saw him hit another home run today, number 53 on this, or 54 on the season, tying his career high from last year. And he's got 3 games to go to break his own record. And his pitching, I think over his last 4 turns to the rotation, he's got an ERA well below 1. I think it was like 0.46. This guy is clearly locked in. And the Dodgers are going to have an interesting dilemma of who they're going to start game 1 and 2 of that wild card series, because there's an argument to be had. We'll probably definitely touch on it a little bit later before we probably touch on it in another episode before the wild card. But there's an argument to be had. You could say Blake Snell, Ohtani, Yamamoto, any one of those guys, I would feel very confident having the ball. And I'll agree with whatever decision the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman, Dave Roberts make, but Ohtani is their best player right now. And I know it's not a crazy statement to say, but I think this postseason of the Dodgers are definitely going to get it done. You're going to see Ohtani be the $700 million man that they need, whether it's pitching in the starting rotation, whether it's pitching from the bullpen, which I think we'll see a couple times throughout October if they go on a run. And then the bat is definitely going to play as well. And Drea, you brought up a great point. After, the World Series injury in game 2, his bat kind of went silent. Freddie Freeman took the front and stage center, especially after the walk-off grand slam, hitting 4 home runs in the World Series. That was his postseason there. I think Ohtani's looking for his signature kind of moment in October in a Dodger uniform, and he could make it by being on the mound and hitting, and the Dodgers are going to get the full effect of the two-way superstar. It's good for the Dodgers. It's good for Major League Baseball. I guarantee you they're hype about this happening. Wouldn't be shocked if he's starting game 1 of the wild card, but we'll see what happens. But he is ready, and he will win the MVP unanimously this year again. That'll be his 4th MVP. There's really not much you can say about the guy, but just talented, and we can't take it for granted.
Yeah, definitely not. Did you guys hear about that? I think it was a Bob Nightingale article that was just like a couple days ago or a day or two ago, mentioning that there was some rival teams of the Dodgers that were very upset that, and they knew this, but they were upset that Ohtani is going to be like able to pitch, and it's kind of like he counts as 2 players, and they get to have an extra person on the roster. This is not news. This was well in place right before Ohtani was even on the Dodgers. But I feel like they're always crying about something. There's always someone that says Dodgers ruining this, Dodgers ruining that. And no, we didn't win 120 games this season. We didn't even get close to a former record. But I feel like, is it always just something that people cry about? And what is up with, the Dodgers just always being at the ire of every other team? Anthony, did you see that article?
Actually, yeah, I did. I talked with a few of my coworkers before I left, and I was kind of like, we would kind of be in that same situation years before if the Angels were any good and made the playoffs with Ohtani. Like, this would not be a thing. But since he's now with us, this is year 2. Last year he didn't get the chance to pitch. Now it's kind of getting blown out of proportion. I'm like, this is nothing, man. Like, people are kind of just like looking for like holes to pin needles at. But I'm actually really excited for him. This is the first time he's going to have an opportunity to pitch at this level. And this level, I mean the postseason. And like last year, he did have, I feel like, signature moments leading up to the World Series. And then unfortunately, when he got hurt, he kind of just became more of a decoy at that point. Kind of just like everyone knows that he's really, really hurt. So like, you still have the fear of him. Like, if he connects, he's going to send this over to the small porch out there in Yankee Stadium. So I'm just kind of excited at this point. Like, at this point, I know we still have 3 games left here. The Mariners are still fighting for their lives, but I kind of just like, if we could just push forward and just get to the wild card series at this point, so like we can get our best players ready, and like I'm ready to like start resting guys too. Like, if you got something that's hurting, like take a few days here and like let's regroup on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I actually didn't see the article, but I understand why teams would be mad. That's the whole reason why Ohtani is a unicorn. And even when I'm trying to like think of like, all right, who is going to be on the roster, because they have a couple different areas they can go, or routes that they can go. If they want to carry 3 catchers and have an extra position player, they could technically just roll with 12 pitchers, because Ohtani counts as that 13th guy, but he doesn't count towards the pitching staff. So does give the Dodgers a unique advantage that no other team in baseball has, and that's the reason why he's Ohtani. He is the 2-way player, the unicorn, and the Dodgers, they're going to take advantage of that, and this postseason, we're definitely going to see that.
I'm excited because I feel like so many of the guys that we have on the team right now, they won a title last year. But then you have the addition of Snell. And I think that that's going to be something that's going to make a really big difference going into October, because you can already see the hunger in him. He made no mistake about saying to us that, yeah, this is what he wants, what he came to the Dodgers for. He wants to win, as so many people do when they come to the Dodgers. And I can see that, Snell's hungry. Kershaw's willing to come out of the pen. He's the one, I think, from my understanding, is like he was initiating that conversation, like, that's what I'm willing to do it. Ohtani just not too long ago was saying, I'll go play in the outfield. You see a hunger in them, even from the guys that were with us last year. And that gives me a lot of confidence that they're going to come in ready to fight for, the 13 games that we have to win in October. So that's very exciting. But yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the guy that we saw on the mound today, Yamamoto. And I know Paul Skeens will likely get the hardware for the Cy Young this year. There's no doubt he's an amazing pitcher. But could an argument be made that Yamamoto was right on his heels and could have a Cy Young in the coming years?
Yes, the argument can be made. I feel like eventually he'll have his moment. He'll be a Cy Young Award winner. And I feel like it's kind of just developed. You saw this guy last year come into a new situation, new area, not being part of the team yet, kind of just getting the feel for it. And I think that postseason run that he had last year, where he kind of was the ace behind Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty did have a few blowups in there in that last postseason run, but I felt like Yamamoto was more consistent throughout. He kind of solidified himself as our top dog of the three options we had. And he kind of came into this season with a whole different demeanor. He knew who he was. He was confident who he was. He didn't have to worry about like that. The term is imposter syndrome, where you're like kind of just like, am I good enough to play at this big league level, MLB level? Kind of no. And he kind of proved it that no, I belong here. I know he had a lot of his doubters. Shout out to Josh Reddick. I see that tweet all the time. But yeah, he's more than proved it. And I'm actually excited because I feel like he's going to be one of our faces for a while. He signed for those 13 years, and I feel like it's basically just him and Shohei taking turns on who's going to be top dog. And I don't think they'll be bothered whether like Ohtani starts game one or he starts game one, either or. I think they're going to just take turns like, all right, today's my turn to like go 9 innings or 7 innings, and tomorrow's your turn, basically. But I feel like we've awakened like a sleeping giant, basically, with like the three Japanese starters we have, whether it's Ohtani, Yamamoto, or in the case Sasaki, because I was very, very impressed with what he had. And I feel like he's finally found something that could help him going forward towards next year.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Webb, one of the co-editors on Dodgers Beat, so plug in there. He wrote a nice article about comparing Yamamoto and Skeens like season this year, and it's a lot closer than what probably the media will let on. I know probably Skeens is probably going to run away with the award, which in this situation, it's win-win for me. I'm a huge LSU guy. I was a huge Paul Skeens fan when he was in college. So seeing him win the NL Cy Young in year 2 is like some rare shit that I've never seen before. I mean, you probably got to go back to when Venezuela won the Cy Young in his rookie season and how historic that was. I can't really think of another pitcher in recent memory. If you guys can think of it, you can let me know. But it's a lot closer. Yamamoto is kind of a pitcher's pitcher, where if he wants to strike you out, he can, but if he wants to get soft, weak, early contact, he'll go that route as well. And he took a no-hitter all the way until the 9th inning, ended up getting spoiled, and we all know how that game ended. But after what he did last October, what he's done in year 2, fully healthy, made every single turn in the rotation, was pretty much the Dodgers' de facto ace this season. He is very undervalued, and he's getting paid a good money. A lot of criticism went to the Dodgers and Major League Baseball, where like the Josh Reddick tweet, where you're giving this guy overseas who's pitched in Japan, very good in Japan, but he's never faced major league hitters in the United States. You're going to give him $300 million guaranteed dollars. Well, he's proven it now. This season was a massive step forward for him. It seemed like he never skipped a beat, improved on every level. His ERA elite, his whip was below 1. Clearly he figured it out this season. I'm excited to see what he does in October, because today he looked really good. The last 5 or 6 starts, he's looked very good. And he may be like the 3rd best pitcher on the Dodgers rotation right now. I imagine he possibly will get skipped in the wild card, and maybe the Dodgers will hold him off for the NLDS if they can hopefully move on, which would be pretty bold, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's not much else you can say about Yamamoto other than he's just been the anchor of the Dodgers rotation this year. And, he should be rewarded. He'll get his flowers in the voting. Imagine he'll probably finish 2nd or 3rd, but he'll be in that conversation for a while now. He'll be in that conversation.
Yeah, just in September alone, in his 5 starts, he pitched 34 innings, had 44 strikeouts. only allowed 3 runs and had a 0.79 ERA. I mean, if that doesn't speak dominance, I don't know what does. So we just have these incredible players. They knew what they were doing when they were signing them, and it's just coming all to fruition now. I really think the front office, the whole plan this year was make sure that our starting rotation is healthy in October, and that looks like that plan is coming to fruition, like I said. So the one thing that wasn't the plan was the bullpen. Now it looks like they're going to have to get mighty creative, and they already started to kind of show us a peek of that plan. But Anthony, you must have seen it by now, even though I know you were on the plane when Roki did his inning. But your thoughts on Roki being a big weapon that we'll have for October? What did you think of his outing?
I was honestly impressed. I had been seeing the videos and stuff on social media of him down in the minor leagues, and I was kind of like, well, I kind of want to see it up here in the major league level, and I saw it firsthand in the major league level. He was really, really dominant, and he's also walking with a different level of confidence that he didn't have when the season started. Yeah, I don't know if it was just like nerves or like the moment was getting to him, or he knew that he was injured and he knew he couldn't perform to the level that he was wanting to perform like he's doing now. So I just feel like we've woken up a sleeping giant, because I remember the criticism early on was that he was showing his emotions. Like, I don't know if he was specifically crying in the dugout, but you can tell he was getting teary eyed. And I always felt like, I don't mind that. At least it shows that he cares about like what's going on in the game. But like, I felt like everything started to turn because people were starting to call him a bust. I'm like, you can't really call him a bust because he's only like 22 and he's only pitched like in the major leagues for 2 months. Like, let's slow our rolls there. So I feel like this outing kind of gives him the confidence to like go forward into October. And like I said, next year when he strikes the slots into that rotation. But I kind of want to see him like on a back-to-back, like whether they pitch him on Friday and then Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, kind of see like how he handles that situation. But at this point, I wouldn't feel a need to not keep him on the bullpen at this point. I feel like he's a necessary arm just because like of the lack of like trust I have with the other guys there. So it's come to this basically where like I saw one inning of Roki Sasaki and I'm like, yep, I'm sold. Like that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, the bullpen's been so bad, specifically for right-handed pitchers. It seems like the lefties are down. Like, even though Drea and Vesia kind of were a little shaky their last 2 outings, like even Vesia in that first game of the series, although he escaped it, he got bailed out by Moreno trying to do a double steal there. I don't know why he was going. But yeah, I think from the right-handed side, the Dodgers have been looking for that dominant right-handed reliever. They thought they got it in Brock Stewart, and hate to break it to you guys, but I don't think he's going to make an impact for the rest of this season. It still seems like that shoulder is still is bothering him. So unfortunate for him, unfortunate for the Dodgers. But they did sacrifice Kirby Yates. We probably won't see him anymore this season either. So next man up is Roki Sasaki. And, I'm not going to lie. Once I saw him start his rehab and he looked like he was getting hit around in AAA, I put out a couple tweets saying, I just don't think we're going to see him come up this year, because at that point in time, the Dodgers really were saying, he's a starter. He's going to start games. And I figured if that was the case and you don't want to change his mindset or his game routines, all that stuff, you don't want to mess with a young player, then just keep him in AAA for the rest of the season as a starter. Start every 6 days, and then keep him in that mindset. 2026 is a clean slate. Well, clearly Sasaki wanted to get back on a major league mound, and he and the Dodgers agreed that the bullpen was the best route to do that. And clearly the Dodgers need it right now. And his last 2 outings in AAA from the bullpen, he looked borderline elite. And I even started connecting the dots where I was talking to Roger behind the scenes and some other guys on some other Dodger blogs and podcasts. And I was like, dude, Sasaki, if he can be that with the major league club, he's going to be the X factor in October from that bullpen. I think Sasaki's role is going to be very dependent upon as just as much as Kershaw or Emmett Sheehan, where he may be dependent on high leverage. If his stuff is working, we saw the velocity 99, 100 miles per hour with the fastball. He had that fork ball that had guys swinging out of their shoes, and they had that split finger fastball, which is basically his bread and butter pitch. Everything clicked. He seems very healthy right now from his post-game comments from that bullpen appearance. And he even thinks his mechanics are sound now with his lower half, which is why he attributes to his velocity being back to where it was like we saw in Japan 2 or 3 years ago and during the WBC. But I'd say I told you so, guys. Like I told everyone, Sasaki's the guy, and I'm interested to see what he does in Seattle. I would like Anthony said to see him go back to back. I would also like to see him face like the top 5 hitters of the Mariners lineup. Have him go against Big Dumper, Randy Arozarena, J Rod. Like have him face these guys. If he gets burnt, okay, these games don't count, and you know where his role is in the postseason. But if he can perform against them, pitch back to back, well, we got a different story with Sasaki right now, and I think he's going to be a big part of the bullpen. I'm excited, and what a storyline for him, to be called a bust after your first 8 starts, and then if you can be a pivotal piece in an area where the Dodgers are struggling the most, help their season, potentially help them win back-to-back championships. Everyone's going to forget what you did in the first couple months of the season. They're going to remember how you ended it. So I think Sasaki knows that, and I think the biggest thing with him, Dave Roberts, what is the one word he's been saying? Confidence. Roki Sasaki looked like he had the most confidence of anybody in that bullpen in that series in Arizona. And the other thing I saw, he looked happy. Like in his first 8 starts, he looked very frustrated, sad because he wasn't getting the results, or they were very mixed, inconsistent. That start, that 1, 2, 3 inning, he looked happy coming off the mound. I think that's going to go a long way. Confidence, mental part of baseball is probably the biggest thing, especially for bullpen arms. And I think Dave Roberts is right in that sense.
All right, Anthony, you got to tell me now, who is off your bullpen trust tree for postseason? I do not want to see them touch this ball. Tell me, does Tanner Scott make it, or no way, Jose?
No, he wouldn't make it for me. I think he's more broken mentally at this point. And it gets further and further. I feel like every time he goes in the back of his head, he just has it oh, I'm going to end up blowing this game. And I feel like we have him for 3 more years at this point, kind of just try to salvage it. And at the start of next spring training, tell him look, last year is last year. It's in the past. This is a new year, start fresh kind of deal. Kirby Yates was on that list. He's no longer on that list because I feel like they just politely just sent him home now. But other than that, there's just the guys that we have now, I just don't want them throwing in high leverage. I feel like all our high leverage guys, I can't trust no more. I feel like Alex Vesia's role now at this point is kind of 6th, 7th inning guy. This is your role right now, 6th, 7th inning guy. And if you perform in the wild card, maybe I might consider it in the NLDS. Okay, maybe we'll go 7th, 8th inning this inning, or this time. Blake Trinan kind of convinced me a little bit. He did look kind of impressive yesterday in his small role, but at this point, I feel like our best options are just going to be piggyback options, whether it's Sheehan, where it's Sasaki, or it's Kershaw coming out and closing it out. Our best weapon is our starting rotation, which is insane considering where we were last year, where we said, well, our bullpen's our best weapon. We just have to get to the bullpen essentially. But I think it's going to be just a lot of piggyback options. We're just going to have guys in there ready to go in case they need it.
I think keeping. You can go, Drea.
Oh no, it's all good.
Okay. Yeah, I think another tweet I put out the other day that was kind of controversial, and it's something I wrote about on my Substack and Dodgers Beat as well, where you look at the bullpen and how they performed in the regular season. People are saying, yeah, you need a good bullpen to win in October. There really is no correlation to that, just because the Dodgers are going to manage things way differently in October. I guarantee you this wild card series, even if it only goes 2 games and the Dodgers, win both of those and they move on, they're not going to Tanner Scott. They're not going to these guys. I would probably suspect they probably go to Emmett Sheehan and Tyler Glass now before they go to Tanner Scott. The only time Tanner Scott's getting the ball is the situation he was put into today. The Dodgers had an 8-0 lead and they put him in to try to see what he could do. Low leverage. Vesia, we mentioned, he's kind of getting hit around a little bit, but a lot of these other guys in the bullpen, I do trust. I liked what I saw from Robleski. Will Klein could be a wild card as well. He looked really good today, and he's looked good in his 2 or 3 appearances since being recalled. Roki Sasaki, we just went on, our love for him. Anthony Banda, he looked really good today. Blake Trinan, I'm always going to have faith, especially after last October, what he did. He's earned, the street cred from the Dodgers, to kind of get put out there continuously. And he looked good in that bases loaded situation. And other than that, you got the starters that are going to go transition to the bullpen. Emmett Sheehan's a dog. Clayton Kershaw. I know there's one bad memory that's in everybody's head from 2019 when he gave up back-to-back home runs, But other than that, he's been pretty good in the bullpen, especially in the postseason. He closed out the NLCS in 2018, closed out the NLDS in 2016. So like the history is there for him. But yeah, this bullpen, it's going to look different. I know it doesn't look good in the regular season, but they went through like 30 arms this year. They were throwing guys out there. Guys were just eating innings, DFA'd. Like it was like a carousel ride if you were in the Dodgers pitching staff this season, just like it was last year. But yeah, it's going to be different. We know what they're going to do. They've pretty much point blank told us what they're going to do with their starters. And that's why Andrew Freeman traded for guys and signed all these starters, because he didn't want to get into a situation like they were last year. Now it just seems the bullpen's the biggest issue, but I think they will be fine. I would be surprised if they have a lot of blunders like they've had as of late, because I think Dave Roberts is definitely going to manage it way differently than he has this last month.
Right. No, I did see that you posted that, because that made me feel a little bit better when you kind of see that there's a history, right? Of you could have a bad bullpen in the regular season, but it doesn't mean that you won't do well and win a title in postseason. So, and I think there was, who had that really bad? It was 2019, that bad ERA.
The Nationals, yeah. And that's the one
Right.
team that everyone brings up,
Mhm.
MLB.com writers. The
Yeah.
Nationals had the 29th ranked bullpen in 2019. They ended up using like 3 or 4 arms that entire postseason run in games that they won. They used them against the Dodgers. They had Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez, and Patrick Corbin. And then you got Sean Doolittle and I forget who the other one, Hudson. I think Hudson was the other guy that they had on that year. So those were the arms that they used. It worked in their wild card round. It worked in the NLDS against the Dodgers. Worked all the way until they won the World Series against the Astros. The big correlation is that you do have to have a good bullpen to win a World Series, but that's when the postseason starts. And the Nationals, Dave Martinez, the manager at the time, he pushed all the right buttons, just like Dave Roberts last season pushed all the right buttons. If you have the best, bullpen in October, you're more than likely going to win the World Series, because you're getting into that opportunity from those arms. That's all the Dodgers have to do. They just have to take a page out of that book, putting guys in situations that they probably haven't been to in their career before. You may have to push guys like Tyler Glasnow, Emmett Sheehan to, different routes of pitching that they are comfortable with, but that's what makes a champion a champion. You need to pitch in environments and situations that you didn't always grow up playing in. And I think this team is built for this challenge, especially Emmett Sheehan. He's like a Swiss Army knife in the pitching staff. So I think they will be fine. The biggest hurdle is just getting out of that 3-game wild card series, because that's the biggest like 50-50 series that the Dodgers are going to face.
Definitely. And I definitely want to get into kind of what that's going to look like in kind of our playoff series, but I kind of just want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Delete Me. And that's who this episode is brought to you by. So Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is important to me, as I'm sure it is to you as well. Have you ever been a victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? And if you haven't, you probably know someone who has, and Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners and watchers. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/hit and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/hit. Code HIT. All right. So I'm seeing a really cool message there are several messages in our chat. One of them being from Alfonso Lucio. This team looks like a postseason team, and the whole season seem like postseason tryouts. And one of the thoughts I had while I was watching today's game was that, okay, 8-0 shutout, the offense showed up, Freddie, 2 homers, our MVP looks like they're in prime shape. Starting rotation is looking good. What are the chances that you think that we could go on a repeat and win another title this year? Anthony, start with you. What are the chances that we win 13 games and hold up the commissioner's trophy at the end?
I'm never gonna support my team. The thing that worries me that we are third seed. I've met before. Postseason tries come with the teams where they had Cole Hamels, 09, we've been led by Manny Ramirez and like rookies like McCann, well, not rookies, but like they were in the first couple of years. Andre Ethier, Clayton Kershaw, baby Clayton Kershaw. It feels weird that this is his last postseason run. So that's what worries me the most. Is oddly enough is the Philly series, and I feel like once we get to the 7-game series, anything can happen. It's just these short series where like I get more anxiety and stress because you just don't know what could happen in like a 3-game set or a 5-game set. So I feel like the chances are good. I don't really like anyone on the AL side apart from the city where I'm at, Seattle. I think they might make a run, but I think most of the damage is going to be over here on the NL side. So I think it's going to be a battle zone, a war essentially, getting to the World Series. But I like our chances.
Cody, you feeling confident?
I'm always pretty confident. I mean, this year's Dodgers team and how inconsistent they've been, especially in the second half, it's kind of made me question my thinking and my rationales and my fandom a little bit. But I think they're getting hot at the right time. I mean, the biggest issue is the bullpen. And like I said, what we've had discussions of, you know, whether it's on social media, the writing and us talking about it here, I think they are going to rectify that. The biggest series and the biggest hurdle, just because of how like crazy things could turn in such a short series, is the wild card round, where no matter who they're facing, whether it's the Reds, the Diamondbacks, or the New York Mets, a lot can happen in just 2 games. So you're talking about one game could, like game 1 is crucial. I mean, like I'm looking and drafting like my predictions and previews for the wild card round. The winners of the first game of those wild card series are undefeated. Like they've not lost. Anyone who wins game 1 of that series has gone on to win the entire series in that new format. And that's crucial. Say the Dodgers lose that. Now their backs are against the wall. Elimination is right there in front of them. How would they respond to that? It's hard. You know, any team can beat any team in a 3-game series. We see it all throughout the regular season. So it is a frustrating aspect if the Dodgers somehow, you know, lose the series, because it would be a frustrating way to go out. But I think if they get past that and they set up their rotation well against the Phillies, which is who they're more than likely 99% going to face, I still take a lot of the takeaways that we had from their series a couple weeks back, where the Dodgers starting rotation pretty much had the Phillies hitters at bay. That's going to be their biggest challenge. Like the Padres were last year in the NLDS, the Phillies, if they can get over the hump in that NLDS, I would like their chances against anybody that the National League throws them in the NLCS, and especially from the American League side, where I think every team in the National League, minus like one, probably the 6th seed, is better than every team in the American League. So I would say even if the Dodgers don't win the World Series this year, I think the team that is going to win it will be from the National League. So hope it's the Dodgers. But it's going to be a gauntlet to get through this bracket, especially starting without a first round bye. But the team put themselves in this situation, and now it's up to them to play up to their billing. And I think it does give them a little bit more perspective, and it does give them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. So, you know, play hot, no bye, keep the hot stretch going, and then see what happens in October. At the end of the day, those 13 wins go to the hottest team in baseball at that time, and the Dodgers are playing really good right now, besides one area, and that's the bullpen. But we'll see what happens. I'm excited, though, so...
I'm excited too, but very nervous. But then one of my coworkers, right when we clinched today, said they always put us through it all season, and then it always ends up okay. And it just made me think of how lucky, I think I said a couple days ago on the show, that we are as Dodger fans, because we know back in spring training that we're probably going to October baseball, and not every franchise can say that. So I just felt like, wow, you know, we are always talking about once we get to October, but you know, we're one of the few, if not only, franchise that really talks that way. And it's just so exciting that even if when I was thinking, what if we don't take the division? But I'm so glad we did, because this is Kershaw's, you know, final one. And he just looks so happy today. He was talking about, you know, he didn't want, I first got to take off his shirt. I think he said he didn't even want to wear pants. I mean, he's just hilarious when he's celebrating. So I just was really glad that they got to get it done for him. But that just reminded me of like, well, he was one of my heroes of the season. And I know that, you know, we give grades about how they were doing throughout the regular season, but it doesn't matter in post. Anything can change. But I want to know who your heroes are. who's the person's, like, if you had to kind of say, yeah, this guy or maybe a couple guys that got us through, and we owe a lot of this NL West title to them, who would they be?
Uh, for me, when I was going through it, I think the one that stuck out to me was in the rotation was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. A lot of that rotation was out injured. We kind of were picking and placing, and he was the one constant. There was multiple times throughout that year where we're texting each other like he might have a no hitter going here, like this might be the night, and we all were upset how it ended up happening. But I felt like he was always a constant. Like when I saw his name, I'm like, oh yeah, Yoshi's gonna deal.
Yeah.
And even then, there in the middle of the season, he did have some slippage. He had some bad starts here and there. But I felt like the next time around through his rotation spot that he was always going to come back and perform. So I feel like he'd be my hero of the season, at least for the regular season, and hopefully in the postseason there's someone else.
Yeah. I like Yamamoto. I like Ohtani. You could definitely say those names and you wouldn't be wrong. I like two guys. I'll give them like a tie. And it's just because of how certain players on the team played. You know, Mookie Betts had his probably worst offensive season of his career. He is hot as of late, so that's good to see. You know, hitting like over 350. He looks really good. It looks like the Mookie Betts that we are accustomed to. First guy I'm going to mention, Andy Pajes. This guy, from you look at what he did in April, it was like almost unplayable. To come back from that, turn into an elite center fielder, right fielder, left fielder, wherever you want to play him. He's an elite outfielder now. Had a couple crazy catches in this Arizona series. Has one of the best arm on the team in the outfield. So that's definitely going to play up. But look what he did with the bat this year. You know, 276 batting average, like slugged 26 home runs. That's like almost more than double than what he hit last season. This guy looks like he is the next top Dodgers like position prospect to make the jump, and looks really good. He's going to be impactful for the Dodgers in October. He's looking hot as well. Hit a home run today and had a couple multi-hit games against the Diamondbacks this series. So look out for him. Another one that's injured right now, Will Smith. Will Smith stepped up big time this year, especially with Mookie Betts having a down year, Freddie Freeman having a couple injury stints here and there, Tommy Edman missing most of the season, Max Muncy missing like most of the season. Will Smith was like the one constant in that lineup that along with Shohei Ohtani. For the most part, they were like 1A and 1B in terms of offensive production. And to get that from a catcher, we know how rare that is. What Cal Rowley's doing in Seattle is like unheard of. What Will Smith is doing is also unheard of as well. You don't really get much offensive output from the catcher. To see what Will Smith was doing, he was on track to win the batting title. And I can't remember the last catcher to win the batting title. It had to have been like Piazza or something. I can't remember the last catcher to lead the league in batting average. Fortunately, he gets hurt, isn't qualified for that anymore, but still batted over 300, I think, or just a tick under. Hopefully he can get back. I don't think he's going to play for the wild card series, but hopefully if the Dodgers move on, he'll be available in the NLDS. But those are my two guys that I look at. And obviously you can throw out anybody in the starting rotation that stepped up big, especially Yamamoto, or as of late, like Blake Snell. But those are my guys that I would say kind of saved the Dodgers season this year.
Big time. I was just so impressed with so many of them, but I just think like with the whole theme, I think it was a Kershaw themed year. As so many of our episodes, we kind of just alluded to that before we knew he was going to be in retirement, we kind of knew that this probably was a special season and we should kind of like zero in on him. And I think he felt that too. And he really gave us his best. But yeah, I'm going to get a little controversial here. Did you guys see, I know the Padres, they're still, playing their game still, and they're going to play the Diamondbacks next, I believe, and close out their season. But they kind of were celebrating a little hard when they got into playoffs. So I don't know, Anthony, I'll start with you. Little brother energy. Did you see Machado with his goggles? I mean, I don't know. It was a little much, I think.
See, I thought it was funny. Maybe he just had like one beer too quick and like it just went straight to his head immediately. I've been there before. It's happened. Postseason celebrations are kind of funny this time of year because you have like some people like, oh, you shouldn't celebrate. Like you should only celebrate the World Series, like yada, yada, yada. Like at this point, like who cares? you've been together since February. It's been a long season for a lot of these teams. Like we don't know the ins and outs of a lot of these teams, like what they go through day to day. So like this is the perfect time to kind of just like let's just throw beer on each other and like spray champagne. I wouldn't like go over the top and start celebrating like I just won the World Series. Maybe kind of just like a lot of bro hugs here and there. Like the slip and slide was pretty cool. Stuff like that, just funny stuff, kind of get loosened up and then like let's go from here. But yeah, at this time of year is always funny, kind of see like the social media reaction throughout different fan bases.
Yeah, I actually I understand why the Padres celebrate the way they do. It's because they're never going to win the division, at least in this era of Dodger baseball. And it's they have a lot of good players over there. Manny Machado is a very good baseball player. You know, secretly he is one of my favorite baseball players that I've watched growing up. So, but that's the difference between the Dodgers and the Padres. The Dodgers, they clinched their postseason berth and they have a champagne toast. They've done that for like the last 4 years now because they know clinching the postseason berth isn't the end all be all for their season. Like if that's all they did and then they lost in the first round, they would feel extremely disappointed. The fans would, the players would, the organization would, especially with the players that they have right now. Winning the division's different. I think baseball and the way they do their celebrations is the best. I always tell people that watch, you know, like other sports that don't watch baseball, they ask me like, well, why are they popping champagne for winning the division? Or like, even if you like watch the Super Bowl when the Eagles won, I was like, man, their celebration sucked. I was like, come on, you got to be like popping bottles, you know, spilling beer on each other. Like, come on. And that's the thing that separates baseball. Hockey does it really well too, where when they go crazy with the Stanley Cup. But baseball, man, like what Kershaw says, you never know when it's going to happen again. And Kershaw and the Dodgers and like all of us fans have been fortunate enough to see them win so many division titles, make the postseason so many years. Just to get in the dance is exciting because it gives you a reason to watch all year. Not a lot of these other teams can do that, and their fan bases can say that. So the Dodgers, you know, they know what their goal is. They will celebrate the division. They'll celebrate if they move on in these individual series because they know how hard it is to get there because they've been there so many years. You don't win the World Series every year, and that's the unfortunate part about it. And that's what the Dodgers, they're trying to set history right now. They're trying to be the first team since the New York Yankees in like 25 years to win back-to-back titles. And they have a very good shot to do that. And, you know, they got the storylines already, you know, Clayton Kershaw entering his final year, him having fun, celebrating. But yeah, I mean, I saw the comments and people and roasting, you know, Manny Machado. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how crazy they go if they can beat the Cubs. But, you know, for the Padres. But yeah.
I'm a hater. I would make no secret of that. Everything he does irks me. Is he a good player? Yes, Cody is a good player, but yeah, I mean, he could just blink wrong and I would probably criticize him. But yeah, that's as close as they're probably going to get. So enjoy it, Padres. Fine. You can have your celebration. But yeah, I kind of want to just ask you guys kind of how you're feeling about something I love. I saw it in spring training, and I think it was announced this week that we're gonna be seeing something in the next season, 2026. The ABS system is coming to town, the automatic ball and strike, and I'm actually really happy about that because I think some of my expletives are usually aimed at umps during the games, and I'm so upset when they get calls wrong. So, are we happy about this? How are we feeling about the system coming to town next year?
I'm finally excited for it. It's a step in the right direction. There's a lot of umpires there that are bad at their job. Angel Hernandez being one that comes right to mind. I can't remember the amount of times where I've been sitting at home and, like you said, yelling expletives, like, "Oh, blue, come on, that's far outside," or "That's way too inside." And like, there's been situations this year where I tap my head like, yeah, challenge it, yeah, challenge it. But unfortunately, we don't have it now. But I'm looking forward to this. I feel like it's going to be an extra edge for us. I feel like either whether it's Will Smith behind there on the plate, whoever the starting pitcher is pitching for that day, or the bullpen guy, I feel like we're going to have an edge there. But yeah, looking forward to it. I was excited to see it during spring training. I know a lot of the guys in spring training were kind of using it to joke around. I think the one that comes to mind is Trey Turner. First pitch he sees from Max Scherzer, right down the middle, and he just goes like that, kind of just like joking around. But like now, I think when it's more serious, I think people are going to use it more wisely.
Yeah, I think it's something that is long overdue for baseball. You know, if you grow up around a minor league team, they've been using it for a couple seasons now. So whenever I go and watch my local affiliate team here in Delaware, it's kind of interesting to see when they challenge a call and then like to see if they were correct or not. It's a very fast system, so I don't think it's going to interrupt pace of play or anything like that. And I think after like a couple weeks, we'll probably get used to it. I'll play devil's advocate. There's the side of me that also just am a traditionalist. I was a catcher my entire life, and there is just something about that game within the game in terms of, you, the pitcher, the catcher, and the umpire, and kind of framing. And I know Patrick Bailey of the Giants, who is not an offensive first type guy, his bread and butter is really about, being a defensive first catcher, and that involves pitch framing. That's going to kind of be a lost art with the new, ABS system for the most part, because you can't do it with every pitch. I think eventually, probably in like a couple years or 10 years or so, ABS will be calling every pitch exclusively. That just seems like the most accurate way to go about things. But and then there's also like other guys like Walker Buehler who complained about it as well when he was on his rehab assignment with the Phillies. He said, he doesn't like it because he thinks if you're in the league for a little bit, you should get an inch or two off the plate, like, because you earn that right. And that's going to be the battle between the traditionalist and the new era of baseball, where a lot of these young players do love it. So that is going to be the future of the game. But then you also have some dinosaurs that have been in the league for, 10 or so years that are probably going to take some time to adjust. But I think at the end of the day, I think it is good for baseball. I think Rob Manfred gets a lot of shit, and this is what we had conversations before earlier in the summer. There's a lot of things that he's done right. And I think at the end of his tenure as a commissioner, we're going to look back and say, yeah, he fumbled the bag against the Houston Astros, but you look at what he did with pace of play, getting the games to go a little bit quicker, getting more fans engaged, getting more young fans engaged, let the kids play, the motto, all that stuff has been extremely well for baseball. I've seen a lot more kids playing it now than I did 10 years ago. So that's good. But yeah, I think it's going to be an adjustment, but I think it's something that's long overdue though. And I think it's going to benefit the game in the long run. So I'm interested to see it next year. I know in spring training they did it this year, but now they're going to have to prepare for it in spring training because they're going to be seeing it in regular season games. So it'll be fun. It'll have some wacky ways to end games though. So that I'm sure that's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I actually was a big fan of it over spring training, so I'm real excited for next season. And just all the little things, the nuances and things that we might, people we might acquire. So there's going to be some fun stuff coming up. But before all that, we've got to get through a wild card round. We've got to get through an NLDS, hopefully an NLCS and World Series. And since we last spoke a few days ago, there's obviously been, a little bit of change here, wins and losses there in the standings. And we can kind of discuss where we're at right now. So as of filming this, I think the Mets were up on the Cubs. Is that correct? I don't know if that's still the case or who won that game, if that has since ended since we've been on the on live. But where is it looking like it's going to land? Because I think the Reds also won today, and I think did they have the tiebreaker?
Yeah, so the Mets did win. So they took the game against the Cubs.
Okay.
So they currently have a game lead over Cincinnati, and they have a 2-game lead over Arizona. It's really going to come down to those 3 teams. The Reds have the tiebreaker over New York and Arizona. So if they tie, then the Reds are in. I think it's trending that the Mets are going to hang on. It would be crazy if they missed the playoffs after the amount of money they spent and the lead that they would have dropped. But if I had to put money on it, I would say the Mets are going to be the team the Dodgers are facing on Tuesday. So rematch of the NLCS and the 2 biggest payrolls in baseball in the first round of the wild card. That was on everyone's bingo card.
Do you feel confident against the Mets, Anthony? Dodgers.
Actually, yeah, I do. Oddly enough, I do feel confident about the Mets. I agree with Cody. I feel like it's trending that way. We'll be playing New York just because their last homestand or 3 games are against Miami. Our chances against the Mets, I know the chance been a whole year since then.
Oh no, we're losing Anthony.
Into my position. Okay, I think you're back. You're back now.
Okay. Oh, you guys can hear me then. Yeah, I like our chances against the Mets. But yeah, just because of the dominance of the starting rotation. I feel like that's what's going to carry us, and I like our chance against New York.
And their rotation doesn't have the same dominance of starters that it used to have, right? They have the rookies that are
Yeah, they
playing.
got the trio rookies who have kind of been their anchor in the second half, and that's a very big risk for the Mets to kind of throw them out there. Hey, you're going to be starting the wild card round. Also, it's against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Have fun against that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So I like the favorable matchup against the Mets. I know, like, freezing cold takes if you screen record this and post it if the Dodgers end up losing that series somehow, but that is probably the favorable matchup. The Mets aren't a good team on the road. They did take the season series against the Dodgers, but they're kind of a different team than they were when the Dodgers met them in the first half of the season. The Dodgers are playing some really good baseball right now. I think it would probably... most of these wildcard series end in the first two games. Usually, I think there's only been 2 or 3 that have gone the full 3. So if whoever wins game 1 is more than likely going to win that series. So hopefully the Dodgers can take away of that. I know we'll probably discuss it again, but like ending on it for here, who do you guys start in like what order of those games? Like if you had to pick, you're Dave Robert, who you pick in game 1, game 2, game 3, if you play 3?
Anthony, go first. You're really good at this. And I'll be thinking. Yeah. Is Anthony better? Okay, then I guess I'm going first. Oh, I can hear. Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, my connection might be cutting off here soon, but this is what happens when you're recording from a different location. But yeah, I would go Shohei and I would go Yamamoto. Those would be my 1-2, and then I would have Blake Snell kind of sitting there at standby game 3.
Nice. I think I might have to agree. I think you spend that money, you have your unicorn. When I saw his face, Shohei's face, in his start, I'm like, he is so ready. And if anyone I would trust to like get in there and meet that moment, it is Shohei Ohtani. So I definitely will take him. Game 1. I could go either way with Snell or Yamamoto game. I think you just have pick your poison. They're so good. So yeah, I'll stick with you, Anthony. I think your steering is right. So definitely Ohtani, Yamamoto, Snell for sure. That order.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers have a conundrum. Like, it's a good problem to have. I think it really just depends on if they... I think it depends on if they win game 1. If they win game 1, they have all the cards, and their game 1 starter, I think, is probably going to be Ohtani. Things are lining up that way, but they could very well go with someone like Snell and then say game 2 could be Ohtani and then close it out, and you have a couple days off to wait into the NLDS. If I'm a bet man, I think it's probably going to go Ohtani and Snell. I think they will get the first 2 games, and then you will have Yamamoto on like 6-7 days rest from this start to start, that first game in the division series. And then because you started Ohtani game 1, you could have him possibly go game 2 because there's like an off day thrown in between games 1 and 2 of the NLDS this year. It's really weird. You can get by the first 2 rounds with just 3 starters this year. And I think the Dodgers are going to try to do that as much as they can, especially if they're going to go on a run, because they're going to put guys like Glasnow. Like, we may see Glasnow, his first couple appearances, be out of the bullpen because they technically won't need him to start a game just because they only need 3 guys. So I think that's what they're going to go with. I think Snell, as good as Yamamoto's been, I think Snell gives you a nice, good look of a left-handed side. Plus, he's a guy that's been there, done that. And I think the way the Dodgers are thinking about it, I think they're thinking they're probably going to win the wild card, so they're probably going to set themselves up to have Yamamoto go game 1 in the NLDS. If they have to go play full 3 games, Yamamoto will pitch game 3. That's probably where I would say they're leaning towards. But they can do anything. I think they can choose anybody to take the ball, and I would be like, okay, I'm sold.
I think the thing that scares me about Snell in regular season is that he tends to go less innings, and I've been seeing kind of the length from Yamamoto. You see the length from Ohtani, I think will, probably hit his 6. But then if you have the piggyback situation where you have the starters ready to come in for long relief, I don't think it scares me as much for postseason. So I think that any one of the scenarios will work out really nicely. Kind of exciting.
I think Ohtani will... I look at all three of those teams. I think Ohtani will dominate every single one of their lineups. We saw what he did against the D-backs. We saw what he did against the Phillies. So, like, you take a good lineup like that. I don't think the Mets stand a chance. I don't think the Reds would stand a chance. I could see Ohtani. They let the whole chain off of him, and he could probably pitch 7 innings and then go to the bullpen. And then you have Emmett. I would say it would be Ohtani, Sheehan in that first game, and then the second game would be like Snell and then possibly Glass now. And then to close it out, I mean, pick your poison. And then if you sweep, you get like 3 days off, and then you start the NLDS. So that's the like best case scenario for the Dodgers. That's what I would say. You got to sweep. That's what you want to do.
I hope we do. So yeah, that brings us to what we're going to see next. Anthony, you're already there, so you're going to get a firsthand view of the Mariners, and I'm pretty sure the probables are what Sheehan, Glasnow, and Kershaw. Yes, is that correct? So yeah, so I'm not sure you didn't tell us exactly which game you think you might go to the tomorrow game, but what are you most excited to see in the Mariners series?
Honestly, big dumper. That's honestly what I'm most excited for.
Yeah.
Just because we've clinched at this point, I kind of just want our guys to kind of get reps, and like if some of our like bullpen guys that we know are not going to use in the playoffs, like if they can just throw some meatballs to Big Dumper at this point, like I kind of just want to see him break Judge's record. But seriously, I feel like I just want him to keep playing well. I feel like it's going to be a tough series regardless, but I still like their chances of taking 2 of 3. Whether it's the first 2 and then the last game is kind of just like, well, I kind of do want him to win the last game because Kershaw's going that last game. I don't want him to end his career on a loss. So, but I just want him to win 2 of 3, and I hope it's competitive throughout.
Yeah, same. I want them to win 2 out of 3, but I don't know if you guys heard about that witch that some Seattle Mariners fan hired to, I guess, improve their season early in September. And I guess they hired an Etsy $16 witch to, I don't know, I guess cast a spell. And I'm thinking, is that what happened to the Dodgers? Did someone cast a spell on us this season? And that's why we had all the bad luck? Because then that would not surprise me. I don't know, Cody, what are you excited to see in the final series of regular season?
I like Anthony's answer. I want to see Rowley try to break the home run record in the American League. I think if he does that, he's a no-brain decision to win the MVP. That's an interesting debate in itself right there. Like him and Judge, like I don't know who to vote for. Like I feel like it would be going against my catcher morals to not vote for Rowley. But then you look at what Aaron Judge has done, has been the model of consistency, and he hit his 50th home run the other day, and he leads like every other category besides home runs and RBIs. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think the Dodgers, their big takeaway, I wouldn't care if they, drop 2 or 3. I think they just need to stay healthy, have competitive at bats. But if they could take 2 or 3 against the Mariners team that's still probably going to play most of their starters, it'll get me even feeling more confident. But I think you're going to see a lot of experimenting the next couple days because they're going to try to see anything they do is already set in stone. So this series doesn't matter to them at all, other than saying, hey, this could be a possible World Series matchup. But yeah, it's always nice to play in Seattle. So we'll see it happens. I'll still say probably, I think the Mariners are hot. I think that they'll probably take the series. At least they'll probably get 2 out of 3.
Not worried about it anymore. We got the clinch
I don't
today.
care
So
anymore.
I mean, I'm just so happy we did it, and Kirsch got to experience, and all the guys look so happy today. And it happened on I guess it's Ben Rortved's birthday. So happy birthday to our catcher that got us through this month of September baseball. So very grateful to him. But yeah, so Cody, your articles have been incredible. I always look forward to their dropping. Tell our viewers where they can read your articles in the next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy couple days, especially with the weekend series, everything wrapping up, a lot of storylines with Kershaw having his last regular season start on Sunday. Gonna be a sad day, but we also know what's ahead of us and getting ready for the postseason. We're gonna have a lot of preview articles. That's kind of my specialty there, breaking down everything. We'll definitely know who they're going to be facing probably by Saturday at the earliest, depending on how certain games go. And then here on the channel, we'll circle back to everything previewing the wild card series. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And everything's connected. It's all connected. The website, DodgersBeat.com, stuff on my Substack, and then everything here that we discuss on the channel, whether Roger's getting pregame, postgame, all that stuff. So it was fun last October. I'm excited to do it again. Hopefully we go on a run.
Yeah, big shout out to everyone at DodgersBeat.com, producer Roger behind the scenes, who really gets so much done to make sure we're all informed. So Anthony, final words for the last season, the last week of regular season baseball.
Sad that it's the last season of regular season ball, but like I've always said, postseason ball is always the best time of year. Oddly enough, not nervous. I was more nervous last year heading into the DS against the Padres, but this time around, kind of the nerves are kind of settled. Maybe because I haven't. It's not Monday yet, and I'm not thinking about the game yet. But right now, kind of just chilling, relaxing, and hopefully, I watch some good baseball up here in Seattle.
So exciting. I just want to give a quick shout out to one of my students, Jose, who, while I was lecturing today, made sure that I was all up to date on the scores, raised his hand so politely, and made sure that I knew who was getting a home run and what the score was inning to inning, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through work today while I'm trying to watch this game. So thank you, Jose, and to all my period 5 students. You guys rock, and you guys are very patient with me because you know how much I love baseball. Yeah, so definitely check out DodgersBeat.com. Check out Cody's articles. Check us out also at our socials. The handles are on the screen. You can find me, Drea, at Instagram and X at Ravine Queen 1958. Check out Anthony on X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _, and definitely check out Cody on X at Snavely Cody 6. And Merry Clinchmas, boys. We did it. We got to the end of the season and it was amazing. So until next time, let's go Dodgers.